Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to replace your E36 Lollipop bushings. As you can see, mine are fairly old. I don't know if they're the originals or not, but they are old. But today I'm going to show you how I replaced this Lollipop bushing in a parking lot with only a couple hand tools. Alright, so what I have is obviously the 17 for the lugs, breaker bar, a couple adjustable wrenches, a 3/8 ratchet. I got a 16 mil. Let's get the camera to focus. I got a 16 mil, 5 mil Allen, a 19 mil, 22 mil, and a 17 mil. Got a couple extensions, and then I have a 1/2 inch with a 19, as well as a hammer. Alright, that's all the tools that I had. Oh, as well as some sandpaper. I also use sandpaper. We'll get into that later. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so first things first, obviously, you gotta get your car stationary. I got mine in gear, as well as a wheel chuck. Always gotta make sure about safety. Make sure the bitch doesn't roll. Okay, so once you get your wheel off, for me, I don't have any jack stands, okay? I'm broke. I'm a broke mechanic. So, my dad always taught me if you don't have jack stands, your rim is the next best thing. It's better it breaks a rim than you. So, I don't know. Most of you probably have your sway bar still in. I removed mine a while back, so that will be an issue for those of you that have sway bars. That's probably going to be your first thing you want to get out of the way. I believe it's a 15. It's located right here. There's a hole right here for it. You take that loose. I would take that loose on the ground before there's tension on the sway bar. Once there's tension on the sway bar, it becomes quite difficult to get that nut loose. Alright? So that'd be the first thing I would do. Alright, so moving on. One thing I did forget to mention is you will need some zippy ties. Zippy ties or bungee cord, whatever you want to use. Really, it's up to you. But something to hold the caliper up out of the way while you're working. That's important. Alright, first things first. What you're going to want to do is take out your, I believe this is an ABS sensor. You're going to want to pull that out. The 5 mil Allen is what this is for. I usually pull it out and do it from here. And usually just tuck it up over the way over here. Somewhere up on your lines or really just anywhere out of the way. I don't have my fender well in, so I have a lot of areas to hang it. If you don't, just let it sit. Don't try not to hit it. It is important for the most part. After that, what you're gonna want to do, let me get around to the other side. Alright, so next you're gonna want to take off that lower caliper bolt and that upper caliper bolt. Make sure you hold on to the brake or hold on to the caliper itself so it doesn't fall. It probably won't, but in the case that it does, just make sure you're holding on to it. Your hoses might be brittle if they're old, or you don't want anything tugging and breaking. So that's the next step. You take out these two. They're both either 16s or 17s. Mine are both varied for various reasons, but either 16 or 17. You pull those out, your caliper will come loose. You wiggle it around a little bit to decompress it, just a little bit. You don't want to really try to decompress it. And then you pull that off to the side, and I usually wrap some zippy ties around that bar and zippy tie it to either a brake line or a stud, something just to get it up out of the way. Alright, so now that you're done with that, once you got your caliper up out of the way, I usually hang mine right here. It's a nice tension point. It's not too good to hang it on your brake lines like that, but it's probably one of the best spots for me, or up on this plastic, but I don't really trust the plastic. I'd rather trust the pipe than the plastic. Once you got that done, and now comes the fun part. Alright, you're gonna be dealing with this hub and your shock, or strut, I'm sorry, your strut, as well as your control arm. For me, I decided to pull my control arms off. I'm not physically strong enough to force a lollipop bushing on with this amount of clearance. You know, I'm not Hulk, I can't really do that. So, I pulled my control arms off. Now, if you guys haven't replaced your control arms, it's going to be fairly difficult. It's probably going to be rusty or something, so you're going to want to get some penetrating oil, something like that. BB Blaster, WD-40, really anything to at least get in there and get the grime. So, yeah, now, what you're going to want to do is, what I did was I take these bolts out next. These are both 18s. You're either going to want a wrench or an adjustable. Really, a wrench is the ideal option, but if you don't have a wrench, you know, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. So these are both 18s. That comes loose, and then it's able to sway back and forth. This is what gives you access to that lower ball joint for your control arm, and that's the whole reason why we're doing this. So you might have to loosen this top bolt. For you guys, I don't know what it's going to be. I had to replace mine. Mine were too worn. So I had to replace mine. I forget what factory is, but it, you know, it's one of the, it's probably something fairly close, you know. A simple socket set will have you. Alright, so after that, it's going to be wiggling back and forth. If your studs, you know, don't want to come out, that one, I found it was easier to, it has an Allen socket in the top of it. You get a wrench, an Allen socket, and you wiggle the, well, you just hold the ball joint still, and you take the nut off. For the fact of it being stuck, it shouldn't be stuck. If it is, you know, I'd clean that shit out. You probably got some rust, some grime, who knows what the fuck's in there. Fucking planes. Alright, so now, once you get this all loose, you're gonna wanna try to take that one loose. If that one doesn't come loose, this one I get stuck a lot. The hub bolt, that one I get stuck a lot. The best way I found to get it stuck, or like unstuck, if you could get an Allen key in there and a wrench, do it. If you can't, back the nut to the face, like the top of this nut to the face of the stud, and then use a hammer and hit that. Just kind of like hit, not too hard. You don't want to like really like dent it and shit, but just enough to give it some shock and let it pop out. That's the best way to do that. At least I've found. Now, you don't also want to forget about your two lollipop bushing bolts. Those are both 17s. They're fairly long, and it is important to make sure that they go in the right way. They are directional, so keep that in mind. Now, for getting the lollipop bushing on, I had pulled the whole control arm off, and I found it really difficult to push it on. So what I did was I grabbed an extension, a 3/8 extension. I wrapped it in some, actually I'll just show you. Okay, so this is what I had in my car. It was 120 grit, fairly aggressive. I probably wouldn't go as aggressive if you have the choice. Again, this isn't like the most ideal way to do this. This is only if you got a couple hand tools and you're on a budget. So what I did was I ripped off a piece, just enough to fit the 3/8 socket. Now this is just big enough to fit in there. You see that? So now you don't want to take out too much material. This is very important. You don't want it slipping around. Yeah, don't take out too much material, especially with a more aggressive sandpaper. But it does definitely help on a brand new Lollipop bushing, like a whole brand new one, not just like the bushing itself, but like the whole casing and everything. Just to take out just a little bit of material, and you get the control arm facing down, and you're forcing it on with just a little bit of lubricant, it slips right on. Fairly easy. That was my fix. I was stuck out here I've attempted this probably 3 times now. And this was the time that I found to be the easiest. So yeah, whenever you guys are putting it back together, make sure you put everything back nice and tight. Again, if you don't have a torque wrench, just do it to your best judgment. You don't want them going loose, but you don't want to break them either. So keep that in mind. Yeah, guys, just make sure you put your rim underneath the car if you don't have a jack, and keep an eye on everything. Stay safe. This is how I did it, and yeah, thanks for watching.